What's good? What's good? What's good, fans? I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another fantastic week of the Voice of the Fans podcast. This is week 135, Clevon. Week 135. As you see, it's me down here in SoCal on location. Got my man Clevon in the Northwest with the fresh Euphoria camouflage brim. Talk about Euphoria real quick.
Oh, thank you, sir. Euphoria is the clothing line that I represent, co-founder of. We have launched our Unity campaign at a time when the world is more divided than ever. It is Euphoria's intent to bring people closer together with great fashion and clothing that really reflects what Unity is all about.
Man, it'd be nice if I could get one of those. Is that a fitted or is that a snapback?
It's a snapback, but they're here in the 206. You can also go to the website, www.euphoriathebrand.com.
I mean, you got my address, man. I should have one of those for the show.
You didn't get
Come
that?
on, come on, man. Come
Oh, man.
on. What's the
Wow.
deal? What's the
Man,
deal? All right, so you guys see Stingy Clevon up there in the Northwest. This is your man Cam. I'm down here in the Southern California, SoCal market. This week we're gonna got a lot of topics to talk about. We're gonna talk about NFL current topics. We're going to talk about the NBA or the NFL draft preview, give you a look inside some of the top players to be drafted next week. Week one, we're going to do week two next week, right before the draft. We're going to talk about the NBA season, week 116. We got some big games, man. We got some people balling out here. Joe Embiid doing this thing. I'm not going to talk about Paul George and the Clippers. Paul George going for 30 plus the last 6 or 7 games. I'm not even going to talk about that. Not going to talk about Rajon Rondo. Not going to talk about the Clippers winning the game with Yogi Ferrell running point guard. I'm not even going to talk about that. But we're going to identify the NBA top 10 players today. Right now, today, no back then, no in the future. Right now, today, top 10 players in the NBA. We're going to identify that for you. And then, as always, we're going to give you this day in history, man. This historic, the country is historic, Clevon, as you know. A lot of good things going in the history that goes in our history that goes unnoticed or unrecognized. Every week we do that. We don't recognize some good history, give you some good history lessons. But first, before we get started, I want to shout out to the guys from HNB Media. HNB Media TV. Make sure you guys check them out. HNB Media on Twitter. They got a whole slew of content that they bring to you every week. I was just with the guys yesterday from Hoops and Brews, so make sure you check them out. Hoops and Brews on Twitter, Hoops and Brews on YouTube, because they just got a slew of good content. I call them clickbait affectionately because they come with a lot of clickbait topics and topics that you just got to respond to. That's where I got that from. You just got to respond to some of this stuff they come up with. But check them out, HNB Media on YouTube, HNB Media on Twitter. Shout out to those guys for working with us and putting us on this platform right here. Like I said, Clevon, we got a lot of topics, man, we're going to talk to, but we're going to start with our numbers. April 22nd, 2021. This is week 135. So our numbers this week are 22 for the date and 35 for the week of the show. Clevon, when you hear the number 22, are you thinking of number 22? In fact, I'm looking at this list. There's somebody I left off this list. Let's see if you come up with them. Who wore that number best, or who do you think of first?
the person that comes to mind first, Cam, is one of the members of an organization called Phi Slamma Jamma.
Oh,
a cat called Clyde the Glide Drexler. I just remember him putting his knees in somebody's chest just to dunk on him back in the day. One of the original rim herders in this league, the NBA. He's the person that first comes to mind. But the person that probably wore it best is the late great Elgin Baylor.
Late great Elgin Baylor. That was one of the Seattle U's finest. One of the guys who immediately came to my mind. But as I put a list down, I got the Andrew Toney, man. I don't know if you remember Andrew Toney, sharpshooter for the Philadelphia 76ers. Like, that was one of the players when I start watching basketball, like, I gravitated to him. I didn't understand why he didn't play 48 minutes a game. I was at that age. Well, why does the guy play every minute? Why do they take him out of the game? It didn't compute, because Andy Toney had a knockdown jumper, just from the elbow, just a little bit beyond the elbow. And so, there wasn't really a 3-pointer back then, but Andrew Toney knockdown jumper, one of the guys I think about. And somebody that left off my list, I couldn't believe I actually did that, was the NFL leading rusher, Mr. Emmitt Smith, Mr. Florida Gator himself. Um,
Glaring omission.
Glaring omission there, but you didn't call it out, so I'm good with it.
I didn't either. That's a glaring omission on both of our parts. I gotta take responsibility for that. For that misstep as well.
Yeah, I can't just looking back at it. And so the number 35 again. When you think of the number 35, who comes to your mind, or who wore that jersey best?
You know, Cam, it's ironic. At present, he doesn't actually wear the number 35, but the person that comes to mind first is the Slim Reaper, the 2008 NBA Rookie of the Year for the Seattle Supersonics, a guy named Kevin Durant, and quite possibly has worn it the best. So, yeah. He's the person that comes to mind first, and he may, be wearing it the best with the fate of the Brooklyn Nets hanging on his skinny narrow shoulder. So
his skinny narrow limbs. You're right; they are hanging on his limbs. You right about that. But he's gonna be back before no time at all. We're not worried about that. So yeah, Kevin Durant obviously wore that number best. Ricky Henderson wore it pretty damn well,
Wore it very well.
Aeneas Williams,
2-4, but yeah.
Aeneas Williams is a Hall of Famer, so he wore it pretty well too down in Arizona. And then Paul Silas. I mean, what can we say about Paul Silas? But you're right, Kevin Durant. When it's all said and done, he's probably gonna, when he wore that 35, he's probably gonna go down in history. If those Sonics come back, if those Timberwolves end up back up in Seattle, they're gonna have to retire that jersey. Sad note though, as a rookie, like I made it a point that 2008 season, because you guys weren't going to the games. You guys weren't going to see that Sonic team for whatever reason in the Coliseum. I flew up to Seattle, took my nephew to the game, and the arena was so barren. I couldn't believe how barren it was. It was a year that Chris Paul was playing for the team that moved to Oklahoma. Why did they move to Oklahoma? Because of the hurricane, right?
Katrina.
So it was one of the years that the Jazz. It was the Jazz, right?
The New Orleans Hornets. They moved to Oklahoma City to play that year while the arena was getting refurbished.
Yeah, so Chris Paul brought those Hornets up into Seattle, and KD went off for like 30. Again, they lost a game, but KD went off for about 30. We got a chance to holler at him after the game as I let my nephew do the shooting on the court. I was talking to this dude. We exchanged. I got to the arena early. Exchanged the ticket. I just bought some nosebleed seats. I figured nobody was going to the game, so I bought some nosebleed seats and figured I was going to sneak my way down low. Well, I entered the stadium through the team store. I don't know. Did you know you can, if you go to the team store, you can enter the arena through the team store? So we entered the arena to the team store, and I saw somebody who worked for the Sonics. I was like, yo, this is my nephew's first time at an NBA game. Probably going to be his last time because you guys are moving out of town this year. Why don't you take these tickets and give us some tickets on the front row? He's like, no, what I said is take the, why don't you give me an upgrade on these seats? And again, they were in the nosebleed seats. He's like, well, I can do you better than that. I can give you some tickets in the club seating. We were third row behind the backboard. Slick Watts was 2 seats next to us. We can go underneath. I didn't even know they had this. We can go underneath the seats and it was all you can eat, snacks, popcorn, chicken, candy, cookies, all you can eat. They even had a dinner in there where they're serving. Well, I ended up getting the shrimp fried rice, which the shrimp was as big as my thumb here. It was, it was absolutely. I couldn't believe it. It was much more than I asked for, but I wanted to do that because my nephew could have nephew can go to the game. So I end up sitting after the game. They let the kids shoot free throws. The kids line up, right? If it was all kids, everybody 8 or 9 and under, you can all take a couple of shots at the free throw on the court. So while I'm waiting for my nephew to kind of shoot the free throw, I'm talking to the one dude. I'm just talking. I was like, man, I was like, it's a shame, man. They leaving. He's like, yeah. And Kevin doesn't want to go either. And then it really didn't sink in. He's like, Kevin really doesn't want to go. Kevin likes it here. I'm like, Kevin who? Like, who are you talking about? Because he called him by name. I was like, Kevin who? He's like, Kevin Durant. I was like, okay. Like, I thought dude's giving me some inside scoop, and I was like, okay. Well, I mean, that's because Seattle's a cool place to be, especially if you got dough. I know he's living in Mercer Island, so Seattle's a cool place to go. He's like, yeah, man, we really don't want to leave. And I was like, we? He's like, yeah, that's my brother. Like, I'm supposed to know him. I didn't recognize him, but he said it like I'm supposed to know who he was. I don't know you. You're not hooping. why
Don't say it so indignant, like I'm disrespecting you.
But that's what he said. That's exactly how it sounded. That's exactly what he said. But he's like Kevin, and then he's like, yeah, we don't want to leave. And I'm like, we? Like, we? He's like, yeah, I'm his brother. That's my brother. I was like, how am I supposed to know that? Like, he don't look. Kevin is what, probably 185 pounds. This cat's about 6'2", about 300 pounds. Like, there's no correlation at all. Like, there was no like, oh yeah, he looked like, there was none of that at all.
No way to make that connection.
No way to make that connection. Actually, later on I saw his mom was there. Kevin signed a little T-shirt for us. It was cool. It was a cool night. But nonetheless, just want to bring that up. That was our number segment, folks. Just want to, get the story time sometime. Clevon, you guys shut me down. Clevon, it's historic events happening this week, man. We had George Floyd's murderer actually get convicted. I don't even want to use the cop's name. I don't want to say he was sentenced to this. It was George Floyd's murderer. That's how he will be forever be remembered in my lexicon, is as a murderer. The dude put his knee in his neck for 9 minutes and in front of bystanders. And I don't know how much of that case you watched, but there was little defense that they could put on. I don't know why the case went on for 2 weeks, and then I'm not sure why they needed 10 hours to even deliberate about that. The jury did. But what I want to know, though, from you, Clevon, if I can get your feedback on, why did this George Floyd murderer grasp a nation, grasp a world, grasp a globe as it did? Obviously, we're in a pandemic, so that may have something to do with it. People were kind of forced to see what's going on TV. But outside of that, man, it really grasps a world like no other. This isn't the first time it happens. This has happened hundreds of thousands of times, as we know. It was caught on camera, but hell, we had Rodney King caught on camera. Like, and that was a much more. Rodney didn't die, so I guess it was a much more gruesome event because he was beat to hell. He didn't die. He lived. This guy was kneed to death, I guess you could put it. Outside the pandemic, man, what would you say is pre-impetus as why this one grasped the world like it did?
Well, Cam, you're absolutely right. Over the years, over history, there has been numerous examples of violence, and unfortunately, the country and the world continues to give us fresh content with regards to it.
Right.
I think the two things that make this situation, I don't want to say unique, but a little bit more polarizing is the fact that, unlike the Rodney King thing, there were really no bystanders around. There was someone that was filming it, but this happened in broad daylight in front of numerous people that I'm sure felt quite helpless and really got a full sense of just the thuggery that the police department can come with, if they so choose. And in addition, I think just the nature of what it is that he was doing. It wasn't a choke hold. It wasn't some type of submission hold. It wasn't, a beating with the baton. It was, someone putting someone's knee on someone's neck. I mean, when I was thinking about it, just in your most, violent rage of emotion, putting all of the weight of my body on someone else's knee is just something that never really comes to mind, and let alone to do it for 9 minutes. So I think the combination of the act that he was that he was committing and the people that were watching, in addition to how much bigger social media has become at this point, adverse other times in history, I think it was just a confluence of events that kind of led to how people reacted to it.
Yeah, it was a whole wild scenario, man. I'm hoping that the other cops who kind of stood and almost stood in defense of that murderer at the time, um, telling the people to get back, to bystanders, as you talked about, telling them to get back, get on the curb, um, move along. There's nothing to watch here. There's nothing to see here. The ones who were standing there and allowing him to do this for so long, like I think they're not just as guilty, but they should be serving some time as well. They should be having their day in court as well. So we hope some. It was a couple good lines came out of that. Is it wasn't justice being served; it was somebody being held accountable. And it's not like that is worth cheering and being excited about, but there's a small bit of relief that the community and those protesting can get behind, because there was somebody actually held accountable this time versus the many hundreds of cases we've seen before. One that freshly come to my mind is the guys who shot the dude jogging in Georgia. And they were let off saying they were defending themselves. Well, I don't know what part of defending yourself is when you grab a gun, jump in a truck, and chase the guy down, and then you're asking him to stop and show ID or show some proof of why you're running down the street. Like, come on, what part of defense is that? That's two vigilantes going out there and killing somebody, but they were allowed to live. Or the cop who, you know, um, shot the guy in the park and then moved his taser right next to him. Said he reached for his taser after he shot him. I don't know if you remember that case. I don't remember the gentleman's name, but I think he didn't die. He lived, but that's just as bad. But it was caught on film, and there was no. I don't think he was held accountable. So it was that this guy was held accountable for this incident. And I think the best quote or post I seen regarding this was from Scoop Jackson on LinkedIn, and he posted one down, 16-19 to go, in reference to 1619 is the history of the country when it actually started, when slaves were brought here to this country here. So that was I like that. I had to like and share that one. But now let's get to the game, Clevon. Let's get to the sports. The reason why we do this show, Voice of the Fans, Clevon. And Clevon, I have to commend you. You gave us some inside scoop last week. Something I hadn't heard about. I don't think it was out there much in the public. When you said Adam Smith to be signing with the Seahawks, sure enough, Alan Smith signed with the Hawks the very next morning. I don't know if you were at the breakfast table or if you was at the signing when him and Pete sat down and he signed the contract, but you probably shouldn't have let him get on the plane. You should probably said, "All right, Alden, we're just going to chill out. Here's the routine for the next 6 months until season starts." But no, you guys let him get on the plane. You let him go back home. I don't know. Did you guys give him a signing bonus or something? I mean, what happened there? Now, the stories I heard is he was defending his sister. I mean, that's a good story to tell. What's the deal? Where are you guys now with again, since you don't want to sign Jadeveon Clowney, who was actually produced for you guys, where are you guys now with picking up the guy off the scrap heap, and is he still on the squad?
At present, he is still on the squad. No, there was no signing bonus. Can't say as I'm surprised, given his past discrepancies or discretions and issues with off the field incidents. Certainly, his character has shown that he probably needs supervision. A few more caveats in his contract with regards to off the field issues. Not surprised that he choked a man unconscious. It's in his nature. Quite honestly, he is chemically imbalanced, and not surprised this happened. And we rolled the dice with it, and sometimes you roll a 7, Cam.
I'm the first guy to say I don't want my defensive linemen to be choir boys. I'm the first one to say that. I no qualms about saying that at all. However, you got to make it to the season. You got to make it through. You got to make it through training camp into week 1. Before you can go rogue, if you will. I like the nasty, but there's a time and place, man. You gotta be able to channel that, and your guy just hasn't seemed to be able to channel that quite effectively. Would you agree?
I would 100% agree. I mean, obviously, at his best, he's, a force to be reckoned with, one of the, better players in the league. Of course, that time has passed, and it's just someone that can be, productive. But it comes with a lot of risk. They knew that when they signed him. They always do their due diligence, which they said they did.
Yeah, okay.
But there's only so much due diligence you can do with Bruce Banner. So eventually he's going to turn green and just freak out. You just hope you can get as much production out of him before he does that, before he's running down the street beating up people. And we just didn't get it. It's unfortunate. I mean, we tried.
Maybe you need to rent one of those warehouses near what do you call it now? I was gonna say the Clink, but what do you guys call the stadium now? Lumen Field.
Field. Yeah.
Maybe you can rent one of those warehouses there in Lumen Field and just kind of cage him inside, and then let him out, take him in chains from the warehouse right to the field, and just let him go. Hey, let it all boil up each week to go. Each week, it just let him go.
Sad. What a great idea that sounds like, Cam. That's the sad part of it all. If only.
Man, my goodness. I mean, I'm sure that's a pretty pricey warehouse there you guys can rent, but I mean, hell, you guys might get a deal. Let them know that Pete Carroll and Snyder, they might be able to work a deal there. So we just want to rent it out, man. We'll pass the guy some food, bring him some of the best food from the seafood from all around, right there at him.
Water views, mountain views.
Man, we'll treat you real nice, but you can't go anywhere, and we just gonna walk you right over to the stadium and just let it rip on Sunday. That's what we need from you. Talking about the defensive player was some nasty. Apparently, the situation was clarified that Aaron Donald kind of was a peacemaker in the whole deal, pulling people off the pile and what have you, and then the guy with the with the blurred vision could only recognize this fire hydrant who was helping people out, and it appears that his name was clear. Man, what's your thoughts on that situation?
Tremendously relieved that that's all that it was. When these stories come out nowadays, you unfortunately the players are guilty until they prove themselves innocent, and sometimes the evidence is such that you just don't think that that's even remotely a possibility that they'll get to that point. So this got corrected. and rectified, very quickly. And I was just happy that, Aaron Donald didn't, get into some type of, back and forth that, would have, tarnished his good name. I mean, again, hopefully people that have seen him play are not, silly enough to, try and cause a ruckus with this dude. I mean, who knows what he's physically capable of doing to a regular human being. So glad that that all worked itself out.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked itself out. I'm sure Russell's not too happy about that. But that might have been one of the main reasons Russell was looking for his escape to Chicago, to New York, or
not gonna lie, that may have something to do with it. I mean, to not have to face Aaron Donald twice a year is a blessing.
We know what he does. We know the damage he does. Clevon, we got some good news, man. Mike Tomlin gets an extension from the Steelers. We know the Steelers just don't make. They just don't. I don't know how you look at that. Are you happy for Mike Tomlin, or you just say it's apropos for the Steelers who just don't make coaching changes? They just kind of keeps things status quo because they've had 3 coaches in the lifetime of their franchise.
Not lifetime. Three coaches in the last 50 years.
Okay. What does it say? I'll let you say. My thoughts on Mike Tomlin. I'd have gave him a 1-year extension based on last year. I said he can come back and coach this year. Like it would be 1 year to 1 year for me with Mike Tomlin. But your thoughts on him getting a 3-year extension? What does that say for Mike Tomlin? And are they trying to keep Ben Roethlisberger for the next 3 years? What's the deal there?
I think it's well deserved. I think it's a testament to his consistent greatness. The Steelers make the playoffs more often than they don't. They have won a Super Bowl. They've been to 2. So, I mean, to say that Mike Tomlin hasn't been successful would not be 100% the truth. I know that you have an unrealistic level of expectation for Mr. Tomlin, which I don't, and I have passed that news on, which is why you kind of get, the gas face on some of those, emails that you try and send. Over towards that Pittsburgh area. He doesn't like the way you feel about him. That's okay. I support you, Mike. I'm glad that you got it. And I know that if you had a quarterback that was, not quite so long in the tooth and able to move around and didn't need 7 seconds of protection, you probably might be able to get to a Super Bowl with all the rest of the talent you have around you. So
he's been there forever. Why can't he get a quarterback in there?
Excuse me?
Who's going to blame on them not having a quarterback?
It's no one's fault, Cam. I mean, it's Father Time. That's who we're going to blame for that. They just didn't, they haven't made the necessary adjustments, not understanding that football players age in dog years and, they're loyal to Ben. So it's taking him to 3 Super Bowls.
So they might just be trying to run this back. Since we got Ben, let's keep the same group together. They brought Juju back.
Ben only gets 1 year. He doesn't get 3.
Yeah.
He only gets 1 year. And to be quite honest with you, Cam, he doesn't get the full year.
Who's going to go in there? You don't have anybody who's going to replace him.
We'll see. They got a young Haskins over there. They got a Mason Rudolph over there. We don't know what they're going to do in the draft. The draft hasn't started yet, right? We don't know what they're going to do.
So you got that much faith in Tomlin that Tomlin is going to change Dwayne Haskins and make him a starter? Is that what you're telling me? Do I need to put that on a sticky note? Dwayne Haskins will not be a starter this season.
Coach Tomlin is a motivator of men. So, we'll see what happens.
Oh, my goodness. Motivator of men, huh? What was their record last season?
12-4, 13-3, something like that.
They
started the season out 11-0.
And all of a sudden, what happened? They lost to Cleveland in the first round of the playoffs.
A lot of teams lost to Cleveland in the playoffs.
No, not a lot of teams. No.
Well, 2 teams. 2 teams, right?
Not a lot of teams. Come on, man. Motivator of men. This guy.
Motivator of men.
So you avoided my question. Do we need to put this on the sticky note that Roethlisberger is not going to play? Haskins is going to start a game this season. You want to put
I didn't say that. I said Ben Roethlisberger may not last the season.
Oh, I thought you were
saying. It wouldn't surprise me.
I thought you were saying. I thought you were saying Haskins was going to get a start.
No,
And
I'm
then
not
you
campaigning. I'm not campaigning for Big Ben to
oh,
lose his job by any stretch of the imagination.
okay.
I
I'm
hope
just
he.
trying to
I
clarify.
hope he. I hope he finds the fountain of youth. Drops 35 pounds. Does hot yoga on the weekends and gets
Oh, come on.
in
We know
spectacular
that ain't happening.
shape.
We know that ain't happening. We know that ain't happening
But
by now.
chances are that at 40, with all those hits that he's taking, it's probably not a whole lot more that he's going to be able to endure. And I don't think he's going to play a full season. But
So you got
we'll see what happens.
okay. You got who do you have starting filling in? Because they
Not
don't
sure
have
yet.
a backup. That's
Cam,
what I'm saying.
I haven't seen the draft. They haven't had
Oh,
OTAs.
here we go.
There's been no
Here we go with
training
this.
camps. Why do you want me to speculate on something like that in
I'm
April?
just going off of what you're saying. You just said Big Ben won't
No,
finish.
no.
Is likely Big Ben won't
Can't say
finish the
for sure.
season. That's
Can't
what
say
you're
for
saying.
sure. It is,
So
it
I
is,
just
it is, it is very likely to be Big Ben's last year in Pittsburgh or playing professional
yes,
football at all. Yes.
yes. So do you want to say Ben won't finish the season? Are you ready to make that assertion?
Oh yeah, for sure. 100% ready to say that.
So that can go on a sticky. Ben won't finish the season.
That
Ben
can
won't
go on.
play 70.
That can go on a
Ben,
sticky. Sure.
but who's going to be the replacement though?
Cam, again, it's April. They haven't had the draft. They haven't had OTAs. They
Hey,
haven't had training camps. It's too early for me to tell you who is going to end the season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But it would not surprise me if it was not Ben Roethlisberger.
okay. All right. I'm trying to hold you to the
Throw it
fire
on the
here.
sticky. Throw it on the sticky,
I'm trying
man.
to hold you to the fire, but
But
you
exactly
dancing
that.
around. You
What
dancing
is going
around
to
like
happen?
Fred
I can't
Astaire.
say that right
You
now.
dancing around like Fred Astaire. Like you really don't. You and
I'm
Usher
really
don't
not.
want to make a commitment over here.
I've made a statement. I don't think Ben will finish the season, but who
Mm.
it will be at starting quarterback is too early to say.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Who's
Yeah.
going to back him up?
Let me
Because
see a little bit first, Cam.
this leader of men you're talking about. You said Dwayne Haskins is over there. He's a leader of men. He's going to make it all better all of a sudden.
Possible.
Like
Father figure,
well, let's make a commitment. You're not ready to commit to that. Well, we'll circle back on that come
No, in April, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to
in
commit to that
August or
yet.
September. We'll see how
Yeah,
you feel then.
much better.
August.
Thank you. Little time.
So, all right. So next week, man, we got the NFL draft. NFL draft is going to change a few hundred players' lives here in a matter of next week. Some of them are going to become multimillionaires. Some of them just going to have a new job that they report to, and then have to work and find a spot in the NFL.
True.
Is there any sense? I might know the answer to this. Is there any sense that Trevor Lawrence does not go number one to Jacksonville Jaguars?
No.
No potential at all.
None.
So what's your thoughts on Trevor Lawrence? Like I brought it up to you months ago when I asked, is he too tall for the position at 6'6"? And I'm thinking Osweiler. Osweiler really couldn't make it and couldn't get it done. He's a little slow. His release was a little slow. He was too big to move. Do you have any concerns with his size, Trevor Lawrence's size in the NFL?
I don't really have any concerns with his size, Cam, but at the same time, I don't think he's necessarily a can't miss prospect. I think he's heads and tails the best quarterback in the draft, and quite possibly the best player in the draft. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be a franchise quarterback. I think that I would give it a 50-50 chance.
Are you concerned by his comments of last week that football isn't everything? He can win in other areas of life. And he doesn't play football football doesn't define him. Were you concerned by those comments that from your starting quarterback, your rookie, who will be the number one draft pick in the NFL, your rookie quarterback who you want to be committed to your squad, who you want to give everything he has to your squad to get better, be the leader of men on the field, if you will. Are you concerned with those comments at all from Trevor Lawrence?
Cam, I hope people don't take this the wrong way, and I hope the comments don't come off as extremely controversial. But unfortunately, you have to feel differently about someone that says that. when they're talking about playing football. Unfortunately, the game that he's going into, you have to have kind of an unhealthy sense of reality and what is most important to you and what is not, because those are killers out there. They are
Grown
you
men.
can
Those
you
are
can
grown
get
men out
hurt
there.
on every play.
This
So
isn't college football.
if football is not your focal point and not the most important thing in your life, of course, your family, your children. But besides that, man, football has to be the next most important thing. And if it's not, then your teammates won't respect you the same way. It's just a fact.
That's a big area of concern. That is a huge area of concern. Would you say?
Absolutely. I mean, tell me something else. Tell me you have weird hobbies or something, and we just got to reel you in sometimes. But no, you don't want a bunch of Ricky Williamses running around just kind of like, this is something I just kind of do because I'm big and strong and fast. But really, I would rather be doing other
hey.
things, but I can't make as much money. No, you want football players that this is what they want to do. They wouldn't do anything else, even if they had the option of doing it. You want those kind of guys on the field.
Talk about building a warehouse and just letting somebody out on Sundays. That's exactly what I've done for Ricky Williams. Ricky was the best running back in Miami Dolphins history.
And then when you the flip side of that is you're so frustrated that when you do get a motivated Ricky Williams that kind of stop looking at the shiny object for 20 seconds, he runs for 1,800 yards. So you'll always placate to just whatever you think will appease him to get the 1,800, and you shouldn't have to do that from superstars. You should never have to push superstars to want to be great.
Well, I don't think it was a matter of pushing. Just don't talk. Just don't talk to him. Just don't talk to him. Don't try to change his thoughts. Don't try to mold his mind. Just on Sunday, you be here. We're going to give you the ball 30 times. All right. And he was ready to do that. And that allowed him to do his extracurricular activities. I just said this before to you, I think multiple times. I'd have built a hut right behind Dolphins training camp and said, hey, nobody look over there. All right, there's going to be plumes of smoke coming from over there. Don't nobody pay attention to any of that. He'll be ready to go on Sunday. Number 34 will be ready to go on Sunday. We're just going to run these plays without him and let them plumes. As long as there are plumes of smoke coming from the hut, we'll be good on Sunday on Sunday afternoon. I don't know. I would have did that immediately. I couldn't spend enough money on that little hut for Ricky Williams. But you're right. That is a huge concern for Trevor Lawrence. Um, is he fully committed? We time will tell, because this isn't this isn't South Carolina, or this isn't
South
the
Carolina's is
Carolina.
not Clemson's. It's
This
not
is not
college
Clemson.
football. It's not the
Yeah,
ACC, man.
this
Yeah.
is going to be big time, and you're going to be on. You're going to be the leader of a team who's been stinking for several years, and they're going to be coming after you. Only because you're the golden boy. Everybody's been talking about you for the last 3 seasons about who you're going to be, how good you're going to be. You got all the golden flowing locks. Everybody's going to be coming to rip that shit out. So you got to have an edge to you. You got to have that uh, irrational confidence, as you mentioned, to kind of get the job done. And if that's not all you're thinking about, if you're thinking about going home and going on a walk with your wife or picking flowers with your wife post game, like that's just not going to get it done. And you're going to have to bring it to the table. So that's going to be interesting. I think he still goes number one because they're too far gone. They don't syndicate a playbook. I think he has the Jaguar draws already that he's wearing. I think he's already made some commercials. So I think they're too far down the road with him.
The fans are sending him wedding gifts. Yeah.
Yeah, that's they're too far down the road for him not to be picked number one. But we'll see how things play out this season. Who do you have as the second best quarterback coming out of this draft? Because I have the top five. I'll give you the top five that I have anyway. Mac Brown, Alabama. I know how you feel about Bama players. Trey Lance coming out of North Dakota State. D2 school, Zach Wilson, and then Justin Fields. Now, we talked about Justin Fields before, but out of this next four, who do you see has the most potential? That's not a fair question. That's not a fair question. Who do you see it as the best quarterback coming out of this draft? Because that might not be the same answer. Who has the most potential might not be the best quarterback coming out of this draft.
Next best quarterback is Wilson from BYU.
Wilson from BYU. You converted. I don't think you was thinking about Wilson not too a few weeks ago when we had this discussion.
Just listening to the list, I'm just not sold on those quarterbacks. I mean, if it were me and I was the general manager, I'm not sure I would take a quarterback in the first round.
It depends
Just
on
don't
who
think
you
you're
are.
going to get the value for it.
It depends. It depends on what team you are. It depends on what team. That truly depends on what team. And you're talking because you drafted a quarterback in the third round who everybody overlooked 3 times before you got your guy. So, and as you like to say, spout, he hasn't missed a start in his 9 years. So your vision is a little blurred with the number 3 there. I mean, your vision is a little blurred right there. You have to admit that.
Well, as I told a friend of mine earlier, whatever GM that drafts Mac Wilson with a top 10 pick needs to put his house up for sale that same day because he will not have a job in 9 months from now.
Mac Brown, you mean?
Yeah, the quarterback from Alabama.
So you think, and that's the question I have about Mac Brown. Mac Brown is good, not great. He's more the lines of a Kirk Cousins.
Oh man, you're not giving Kirk Cousins enough credit, man. He's not Kirk Cousins good.
No. Listen to me. Listen to me. Kirk Cousins coming out of college was good, not great. He was a game manager. He'll hit it deep if it's there. He'll throw it deep if it's there. Outside of that, everything's dink and dunk. Rely on your run game. Rely on your defense. He's not gonna lose a game for you. That was Kirk Cousins. That's Mac Brown. That's what I see out of Mac Brown. He's not gonna win the game for you. He's not gonna go 18 to 21, 470 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's not doing that. He's gonna go 15 of 17, 220 yards, and a touchdown or 2. And you're gonna have if you have a good running game, he's gonna look better. If you have great receivers, he's gonna look better. That's what I see in Mac Brown. I see a good but not great quarterback, somebody who is consistent. The major question I have with him, is was he just playing with superior talent? Was that it at Alabama? Was he just playing with?
How is that even a question, Cam? You have 2 top 10 receivers on your team.
That's what I'm saying. Was his production just based solely on him having superior talent?
Yeah, the answer is yes. The answer is yes to your question.
Well, if you say yes with no hesitation like you just did, there's no way you draft him. He doesn't go in the first round. You wait till the second round to draft him.
But someone is going to think that they're so clairvoyant and sees things that no one else sees that they're going to make that mistake, and it's going to be hilarious to watch it happen.
The San Francisco 49ers, he could fit into that scheme. He could fit into that scheme. Good defense, good running game. Let their offense is predicated on the quarterback getting the ball to the receivers and they doing the catch and run. They're not looking for him to go 24 for 27 for 320 yards. They're not looking for that. They're looking for the guy to go 13 to 15, 199 yards, 220 yards, and be effective, more efficient. That's what they're looking for. And he done that in college. He did it great. Why couldn't he do that in the NFL?
Do yourself a favor. Use a 4th or 5th round pick. Trade for Gardner Minshew. I mean, he has no place over there in Jacksonville at this point. I mean, the guy that brought him in is gone. Clearly, Urban Meyer is not going to be a big fan of his. I mean, trade for Gardner Minshew II. Be done with it, and keep your top 10 pick.
You don't even like Wazoo. So
I don't.
how you gonna throw a Gardner Minshew?
That just goes to show you how
That says what
impartial
you
I am when it comes to
exactly
this.
exactly. See, somebody who don't know you, who don't listen to you, knows that there's a bunch of hogwash that you giving them folks right there. They know.
I mean, you would be better off trading for a Wazoo quarterback than drafting Mac
Oh
Brown.
boy. Oh boy.
In my humble opinion, I'm just saying.
No love for Mac Brown. Okay, but that's what I see. The if you can say yes so quickly and easily to that question, was he just playing with superior talent? You don't draft him in the first round. Trey Lance. Now I like Trey Lance. I like what I see from Trey Lance. However, he comes from the game where what benefits him is the game has changed, so you need some mobility in the quarterback position. If your quarterback can move outside the pocket and he can do some things outside of the pocket, a la Aaron Rodgers. He's not Aaron Rodgers, but a la Aaron Rodgers or um, Patrick Mahomes, get outside and still make some throws. He can do that. Trey Lance can do that. However, Trey Lance doesn't stay in the pocket long enough to make those easy 15-yard outs, hit the 17-yard out route. He doesn't stay in the pocket enough to hit that tight end going down the seam because he wants to get out there and run and make some big plays. If you can harness that in him and get him to see that tight end, give it a beat more. That tight end, let him get past the safety, he's going to be open. If you can get him to stay in that pocket a beat more, you might have something, and then let him make plays when the plays break down and get there. What do you think about Trey Lance and what his ability at the next level?
Unlike the Alabama quarterback, his problem is that he has dominated very good talent over the years. He's played at a lower level. The NFL is way different, and I'm not quite convinced that he's prepared for that.
That's so kind of to my point. Because he has some running ability, he was running all around these guys at the D2 level. Um, and that's why he kind of needs to settle back in the pocket just a little bit longer and let these NFL receivers do the work for him. Let these NFL running backs do some of the work for him, and he doesn't have to make all the big plays, which he became accustomed to making at North Carolina or North Dakota State. So you're gonna have to reel him in a little bit. Are you willing to do that at Atlanta? Are you willing to draft him and let him grow into the position? New York going to draft a quarterback. I mean, I think everything's pointing to them drafting Zach Wilson, and we'll get to him next. But somebody drafting Trey Lance needs to. He might fail if he's a day one starter. If you put him in there to start day one, he might fail because he'll be looking to make those big plays
He
versus
needs that
allowing
two a
him.
time. He needs that two a time.
What do you mean? He needs that two a time. Yes,
That
he
two
needs.
a time where you kind of sit back and you kind
I
of
think
you
I don't
develop, you
think
kind of
I
watch the
think
game, and then you get in for a couple of plays, a couple of games, and then they kind of pull you out, put you back in, kind of to gauge where you're at. So yeah, if you have that kind of patience, sure.
I don't think I don't think Tua they put Tua. I think he needs a whole season to sit down and rest, not in 6 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Not 6 weeks. So I think he might need a little bit more of that Tua time, as you put it. Um, but Zach Wilson, another guy at BYU, has all the tools to be successful. Has all the tools. He can throw. He can hit all the routes. He can hit the seam route. He can hit the out route. He can throw the dig route, the deep dig route. All the tools to be successful. Question about him is kind of the same question you have about Trey Lance. Is the talent level he's playing? Although he's at BYU, bigger school, D1 school, that talent level that he played against his last season, he took a jump, and his numbers took a jump with him. So he as the years progressed, he progressed, as a talent dwindled, his numbers progressed as they should. That's what you really want to see. Um, is he dominating this young talent, this inferior talent? And he did that. He had big numbers. Um, but he also has a gunslinger mentality. And against his inferior talent, he can take the chances that he was taking in college. Some of those chances that he was taking in college in those games, he's not going to be able to do that in the NFL. So can you harness that talent? If you're the Jets, take him. Hey, Jets have at him. That's what I say. Have at him. Bring in your rookie to this division. Have at him. I don't want to see him in 5 years, but the next 4 years we want to beat his bone to a pulp, and maybe they'll draft somebody else. But I think he'll grow from that, unfortunately, because he's going to be he's a little bit more thick-headed is a word I want to come to mind. He's a little bit more stubborn, where he's going to take this beating and grow from that, whereas some players might wilt from that. What's your thoughts on Mr. Zach Wilson?
He has tremendous arm talent. Again, I don't think the body of work is extensive enough for us to really come to a legitimate conclusion on what he is, on what he's going to be. But I guess he's probably shown you enough to take a risk. I mean, Trubisky, RG3, Carson Wentz. I mean, that number 2 pick. I mean, Marcus Mariota. I mean, lots of people have taken a gamble at that position and not quite hit pay dirt, but who's to say that they won't with him? I'm not sold that he's the guy, but I'm not sold that he's not the guy either. So I'm kind of on the fence with him.
So the Jets got rid of their quarterback. They sent Sam Bradford to Carolina. They need a quarterback. Who are you going with?
Sent Sam Darnold to Carolina. Wilson is the next person up after Lawrence, so that's who they're going to go with.
And then your thoughts on Justin Fields, the last of the 5 quarterbacks that we were previewing for the draft. I think he's a tough kid. I think he's more of a project than a day one starter. I think from what I've personally seen, his accuracy is limited. He has challenges when you come after him, and he doesn't have a feel quite the. He has the tools, but it feels like or looks like he hasn't played quarterback his whole life. He just has that low quarterback IQ, if you will. What's your thoughts on Justin Fields?
For him to have success, it would be ideal if he was a mid to late first rounder as opposed to an early first round pick, just so that the level of expectation is different. And your enthusiasm is tapered a little bit with regards to what it is that you think that you're going to get day one. And I think if he had an opportunity to do that, like you're saying, mentor behind someone for a year or two, I think he'd be better off for it, adverse just kind of getting thrown into the fire and being anointed the franchise savior. Hopefully no one makes that decision and puts that type of undue pressure on him, because I don't think he can handle it.
So what I've heard, and so there's been a lot of talk from pundits saying, why is he falling? He's falling. He's not going to be in the top 5 quarterbacks drafted, which, as you just mentioned, that's probably not the best situation for him and a lot of these guys, actually. If a lot of these guys, if a Matt Brown, if a Trey Lance can fall and get drafted mid to late first round, they'd probably be in a better position because the team is going to be better. And then they have a better chance of performing well because they're performing around a better team, right? You're only getting drafted early because these teams stink for the most part. San Francisco aside, because they were a pretty good team. They just had the Super Bowl hangover last season, but they have a lot of pieces to be good. Justin Fields, in Justin Fields' case, it's apparent that he's slipping. But if New England trades up to get him, say the 9 or 10 pick, how do you feel about that from a Patriots standpoint?
I feel the same way. I would feel much better about it if they were able to do that in the late first round or early second round. If they moved up to 10 to get him, they would be, he would be following in the footsteps of Tom Brady. And who wants to follow behind a 7-time Super Bowl champion? That's just not healthy for him, and it's not a good situation.
Well, he'd have Cam to kind of learn from. Not that Cam's probably the best teacher, but he'd have Cam to kind of learn and understand the NFL from. So that if I were him, I'd be praying for
But
that.
if he was playing behind Cam, I mean, again, do you think Cam Newton's going to make it a full season in the NFL again?
Right. No, Cam would have got replaced if they had somebody to replace him
Okay,
last season.
so you're already kind of saying what you're not saying. You're expecting him to be ready to play pretty quickly.
But you would suspect that he's going to get great tutelage from the guys up in New England. We've had this coach versus player conversation for years now.
You've also seen, and let's be honest, you've also seen how coaches that are extremely hard on players and superstars in specific can do that with them, but they cannot project that same type of coaching style and philosophy on other people because they're just not strong enough to deal with it.
Take it, yeah. That's
and
true.
So why you would think Justin Fields is that guy, I have no idea.
Well, I'm talking. He's going to be there for a taking, and he's the one quarterback I don't see getting picked in the first 5, and that's going to drop and be available for New England to pick up. Everything tells me, all signs, New England's going to make a move to get a quarterback around the 10-11 pick. So we'll see how that works out. Clevon, that's our preview of the top 5 quarterbacks. Later on in the show, we're going to talk about our top 5 non QBs in this draft. Next week, we're going to have running backs and quarterbacks for you, but as of now, that's our quarterback preview of the 2021 NFL draft. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, we want to talk about the NBA topics. Talk about LeBron James. We talk about AD made a comeback today. What you guys think about that? And we're gonna. I think the Western Conference champions have already been determined, right? Would you agree? Western Conference is already in the bag. Would you agree on
not
that?
at all.
All right, we're gonna have this conversation here shortly. So let's take a quick break here. I think you would agree, Clevon. Once you listen to what I have to say, I think it'll be a no-brainer for you.
Okay, great. I'm all ears.
LeBron got Twitter fingers, huh? Twitter fingers a little tricky happy there yesterday, huh? What's your thoughts on LeBron and his comments about the situation with the shooting of the 16-year-old girl in Ohio?
As an African American male, he feels frustration about the state of the world, society, as it were.
My goodness,
perhaps has a little bit too much time on his hands, not being able to play and lead the Lakers back to prominence the way he wants to. So
we knew that wasn't happening anyway. But don't make excuses for that.
Hey, slow down, back up. You asked about LeBron and his Twitter fingers.
I did. You gave me not winning. Them guys were not winning the championship. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying that those are my comments.
What?
He has every right to do that, and vent his frustration like anyone else.
Okay, that's fair, but he was a little. You'd agree that he was a little. What is the word we want to use? Quick, right?
Perhaps. You can make that assessment, but everything that LeBron does is going to be criticized. So it's been like that since he was 16 years old.
Oh my goodness gracious, fans! You guys see the unbridled coverage that he's getting from this guy here. Do you have a purple and gold Euphoria hat? And we're gonna see that one next.
It's on the way. I'm glad you asked.
That one I don't want. That one I don't want. Okay, that one I don't need. Okay, come on, man. I appreciate LeBron for he changed the game off the court for these players. a big major impact in the game that way, because he's kind of created a blueprint. Hey, you guys we're the stars, we're the talent, we're the draw, and the leagues and owners should be commissioners, or after, what are they calling them? Are they calling commissioners? They're not owners no more, commissioners or whatever they're calling them.
Yeah, I
Governors
think
or
they
some
came
governors or
with.
some
I think they're still
something.
owners. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
they're
they're
still
still
owners.
owners. If I bought my team, like Jerry Jones said, if you pay $2.5 billion for the team, I want to make all the decisions, and you're gonna call me the damn owner. That's what's gonna happen. I'm the owner of the team, but I think they're governors or whatever, what have you. Um, like I say, LeBron is done good in that aspect. As for he got a little quick yesterday. He doesn't typically get caught up in the media storm, as we know, because everything he touches, he's very thoughtful in what he gets involved in, and so this type of thing typically does not happen. But just yesterday, got caught up. Come on, Cleveland, admit it. He was a little quick on the fingers, quick on the draw, and ended up deleting the tweets and got a little caught up. Would you admit that?
Perhaps his thoughts were not as eloquently thought out as you're accustomed to seeing from LeBron, and that's he's human. He's a human being, Cameron, and
Oh my
right now he's
goodness.
just he's sad he can't be out there with the Lakers trying to
Oh, is that
help them
it?
go back to back with the championship, and it probably clouded his judgment a tad bit, not being able to be there for his guys.
Really not being able. Okay, all right, Clevon. Um, Clevon, and we're gonna come to this coach player conversation comes right back around. Who do you give more credit for the Knicks' success this season, Thibodeau or Julius Randle?
In this example, Cameron, Tom Thibodeau.
We finally got him. We finally got him to understand. And why would that be, Mr. Cleveland?
Because there really is not a whole lot of talent on that New York Knicks team, but he has got them to buy into a certain philosophy, and he's maximized the talent that they do have, and he's put people in the right position to succeed. And at present, they are the number 4 team in the Eastern Conference. That's impressive.
I'm so proud of you right now. I'm so proud of you. The education you couldn't learn this at the University of Washington. You didn't learn this type. You didn't learn this down at your internship at University of Miami. I'm so proud of you. The voice of fans is really is doing a service to you, Cleveland. You just can't learn this everywhere. I'm so proud of you right now that you're showing some growth right now. At this late stage in your career, you're showing some growth. I'm so proud of that, Cleveland, because you're exactly right. It is Thibodeau to have these guys improve to number 2 in the Eastern Conference's defense. The last 4 years, they've been 30. So that really says that coaching impacts the impact he's had on coaching these guys. However, they although they may get a first round home court advantage in the Garden, I mean they may be out early in the playoffs, but they will be to the playoffs nonetheless. And it's been a long time since they've been there. I think it's over 17 years or 7 years since they've been to the playoffs. Excuse me, 2013. They lost last time they was around the playoffs, so sniffing the playoffs. So kudos to you for making that assessment right there, and then kudos to the New York Knickerbockers for developing and progressing this year. Cleveland, let's see, how good you've been learning now this far. Let's put this knowledge to the test. I'm gonna ask this question this way: if Zion Williamson was to have the career that Julius Randle has had thus far, where it stands right now, would that be a failure or success for Zion Williamson?
For Zion Williamson, a failure.
Yeah.
Absolute failure.
Absolute abstract failure. So,
Absolute failure.
would you consider this season a failure for Zion Williamson?
I wouldn't consider it a failure for Zion Williamson. I would consider it a failure for the New Orleans Pelicans and Stan Van Gundy at
Who's
head
the leader of
coach.
this team? Who's the leader of this team?
Who's the leader of that team? They don't have a leader.
Yeah. Oh, the New Orleans Pelicans do not have a leader?
No.
So the guy that Jordan just made Jordan brand shoes for the youngest player to get some Jordan brand shoes, he's not a leader?
No. Probably he's their most talented and most marketable player, but they don't have a leader.
Your guy Lonzo Ball?
No, he's not their leader.
And Brandon Ingram.
No, he's not their leader either.
So they're out there running rudderless, is what you're saying.
They're running around playing AAU ball just without a leader. They don't have a leader.
Interesting. Okay. So is that more coaching or is that players? What you just said? You were sounding like you're a little
the players. They have very young players. None of them which are established enough to take the lead at this point. And there's no veteran leadership to fall back on that's going to lead them anywhere. They don't have a leader.
Okay. So you go to free agency to get a leader. You wait for Rajon Rondo to win a championship with the Clippers to try to bring him back to the home front.
Not
what do
sure.
you do?
Not sure what their plan is, Cam. And I don't think that they're sure what their plan is.
Well, do they keep? Would you, if you was in charge, would you keep Stan Van Gundy as a head coach?
No,
I would not. I would not. Like I didn't understand when they hired him. I would not.
Yeah, I would cut my losses this year. You just don't have that many prime years of Zion being this explosive to just waste on just what ifs and experiments. Stan Van Gundy is not the answer.
So you say, and I'm gonna move ahead, fans, a little bit. I'm gonna move ahead a little bit, but just to continue this conversation, Clevon has in his top 10 players today, Julius Randle is his top 10 player today. Would you say that would be a failure for Zion Williamson?
Yes.
For him to reach top 10 player in the league would be a failure for him. What do you expect from him?
Oh, I expect top 5 from Zion, from what we've been able to see of his potential.
You expect top 5 when?
In the next 2 to 3 years.
Does top 5 player, does that mean the team should be top 5 in the West? Or in contention for playoffs?
We don't know where Zion might be in 2 to 3 years. We assume that he'll probably be in New Orleans, but if so,
you're
I guess
not
it
getting
depends on coaching and how free agency goes. So I mean, clearly he has the talent for it. This is a very unique season for Julius Randle, and I don't think it's something that he can duplicate over and over again. So let's not kid ourselves about all that.
Hey, I'm asking a question. You have him at number. You have him at number 8.
Well, sure. I have a player that has gotten his team to number 4 in the Eastern Conference when they were not supposed to make the playoffs at all. So clearly, I think he's either all NBA first or second team. Wouldn't you say?
Second team, if at all. He's not first team. First team. Come on, get out of here. But I mean, I don't want you to risk tampering charges right now because I heard you say we don't know where Zion might be. Like you were tampering, like you're trying to recruit him somewhere.
Well, I'm just saying, one of Adam Silver's biggest mistakes is not having the cold envelope when the lottery came around for Zion. He let him go to New Orleans. He clearly should have been a Knick. Well, everyone would have been better off for it.
That means Randle wouldn't be there doing what he's doing.
Well, that's fine. That's unfortunate for him, but I mean, Zion wanted to be a Knick. The Knicks wanted Zion. Adam Silver really honestly should have made it happen. However, he had to do it.
Yeah, did you hear Zion gushing about New York playing in the Mecca last week?
Yeah.
Did you hear him
He does
gushing
it
about
every time he's there. He does it. He's been doing it since he was in college. Did you see the disappointment in his face when he found out he wasn't going to New York? He was like, "Oh."
But they got good food in New Orleans, I hear.
What's that?
They got good food in New Orleans, from what I hear.
Oh man, come on. Does he look like he? Yeah, that's important to him clearly, but I think he knows of a few good eat spots, man. He can find some more. He'll be all right.
He can find some good eating in New York, is what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, he'll be okay.
All right, man. Do we have to even talk about the Western Conference, man? I feel like this Western Conference is already wrapped up. I feel like the Clippers they're now 10-1 over the last 11 games. They won a game with Yogi Ferrell. Have you heard of Yogi Ferrell? You know where he's been playing at?
He was in Dallas for a minute. He kind of bounces around here and there. You know, Yogi's
G
one of those
League.
veteran kind of guys.
No, G League is where he's been. Lue closed the game out last night with Yogi Ferrell running the point, and they ended up winning against Memphis. I thought Ty was trying to give one away last night. I think that's wrapped up. I mean, tell me who can compete with the Western Conference. Who can compete in the Western Conference right now with the Clippers? Did you come up with a name? I know you don't have any faith in Utah. I don't think you have any faith in Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns. I would like you to tell me who can compete with the Los Angeles Clippers in the West. And don't tell me the Lakers, because you know they're not even healthy.
The Denver Nuggets, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Portland Trailblazers can all compete with the Los Angeles Clippers.
Stop it. The Nuggets are without Murray. Do you know that? Are you aware
I was
that
aware. I was
Murray
aware.
went out 2 weeks? Murray went out 2 weeks ago with a torn up knee. You know that,
Tragic
right?
loss.
Okay.
Tragic loss.
They're no longer contenders. They're no longer contenders for the West. Portland Trailblazers, are you kidding me? They just smacked Portland around 2 nights ago.
That wasn't in a playoff game, and you know there's bad blood there. There's animosity. You never know what can happen in a playoff series.
Although Dame wasn't there, Dame didn't play. Your boy CJ went off for 25, I think, 25 or 28. Carmelo even showed up for a stint. But they got smacked around. So there's two of your. Who else did you mention?
The Los Angeles Lakers, the defending champion Los Angeles
Come on,
Lakers.
man. They're going to be in the play-in tournament. Your defending champions will be in the play-in tournament facing who? Dallas? Are they going to get by Dallas, or is the Golden State Warriors going to beat them? Which one of those teams? Because they're not healthy. They're not. Sorry to say it, they're not healthy. Well, I'm not really sorry to say it, but they're not healthy. So come on with the Lakers. Stop it, man.
They're getting healthier by the day. So,
in my estimation, the Western Conference is wrapped up. There's no reason. I mean, as much as I like playoff games, I don't even think we should play them. Just go speed right ahead to June 1 and let whoever come out of the East come to LA, because we'll be sitting and waiting for them.
I love your bravado, Cam. I love the way you're getting out in front of this. I love the way you're putting yourself on the line like this, Cam. I love it.
I just all the years I've been watching hoop, man, I just don't see anything. I don't see any other way this can go. Help me, correct me where I'm wrong. Don't tell me how much you love my hypothesis. Correct me where I'm wrong.
The Los Angeles Clippers don't have any cohesion. They don't ever play with a sense of urgency. Remember that leadership problem that we were talking about in New Orleans?
Yeah.
Los Angeles has that same kind of leadership problem.
Not at all, buddy. Not at
all. They absolutely do. Rajon Rondo.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Here's why they have a different kind of leadership problem.
Yeah.
Their leadership problem, and we did address this, and you agreed, because you were so disgusted with how PG-13 just anointed Rajon Rondo as the savior and the leader, Uncle Ray. That's just
Pretty much.
that's just not how teams do. That's just not how superstars react. And Kawhi was just so relieved that, oh my God, now I don't have to do press conferences anymore.
Oh my, we heard from Kawhi once for 2.5 minutes since Rondo been on the team.
You know what I'm saying? So you're not comfortable with that, Cam. You're not comfortable with that kind of makeup.
I don't have to be. I don't have to be. I didn't understand it true enough. It confuses the heck out of me personally, but I got a different mentality. For somebody to come on the team, like, you're gonna have to do something to earn my respect. I can't just throw you the keys immediately. But these guys say, hey, they apparently they couldn't wait to get out of that.
Are you comfortable
quick enough,
Cam, when your superstars just throw you the keys like that?
But they're throwing it to a 2-time champion. They ain't throwing it to just anybody. They're throwing it to a 2-time champion.
Are you comfortable with that, Cam?
You're familiar. Cam. You're familiar with this work. It was just, what was it, 71 days ago that he was winning. He was toasting from the championship goblet.
71 days ago, Cam.
The goblet
of
champions
ago.
that you.
Crying out loud. It was 72 days off before the regular season started.
Okay.
Let's get the numbers correct.
What was your term? He stepped from the goblet of champions not too long ago, and so he has that experience now. So he helped you guys there to get there. What's to say he can't help these guys?
Isn't Kawhi a 2-time champion, two-time NBA Finals MVP?
Different guy. Different guy. This is what I didn't understand.
I hope Tyronn Lue can weave all of those personalities together and come up with something, because you certainly seem convinced.
So I brought this up. I think we talked about this last week. But I'll refresh your memory. I asked this question, the same question I asked to Monty Williams when they played the Phoenix Suns, who has, I think they're number 1 in the West right now, and Dwayne Casey of the Detroit Pistons. Well, I don't think they're even in the playoffs. So, but I asked this question. I want to know from both of these guys, some black coaches who's been around the NBA. What is it about Tyronn Lue that has brought a sense of calm to the Los Angeles Clippers, to make them play more relaxed, to make them play more? It looks like they're more comfortable within their skin this season. I asked these guys both the same question. And they said, hey, one thing that doesn't get talked about is Tyronn Lue's a champion. He won as a player and he won as a coach. He's a championship basketball mind. So he's been there before. He knows what he's doing, and he knows how to communicate with the players. He's not so old that he's lost touch with some of these players. These players recognize and remember who he was, mainly for the video you like to show, or you like to refer to, I should say. But they recognize him as a player. He recognized what it's like to be from a player and a coach. And I asked Ty Lue, I said, Ty, what is it about your background as a championship player and a championship coach that seems to bring this sense of calm to the team? Referring to the same question I asked Monty Lue and Dwayne Casey. And he says what he brings to the team, he's played for a lot of good coaches. The most important thing that he picked off, and mainly it was from Phil Jackson, is that sense of poise. If I don't lose control on the sidelines, my players aren't going to lose control on the court. If I keep my calm on the sidelines, the players are able to keep their calm on the court. We do all the other stuff behind walls, behind the doors. I get excited, I get animated, but that's behind the doors during halftime. They come out and make the changes. So that's creating a bit of a culture for this squad. When they're able to win without Kawhi, they're able to win without PG. Yes, you're right. They haven't played a lot of games together. You're absolutely correct about that. However, they're playing with this sense of poise that and has developed a culture that allows these guys to excel. And they played last night. They didn't have Kawhi, Paul George, Reggie Jackson, Rajon Rondo, Serge Ibaka, Patrick Beverly. All those guys were out. And he pulled this game out. That's a different culture than what we've seen in the past. So kudos again to the coaching of Tyronn Lue to allow these guys to play a little bit freer than they have in the past. So I'm bought in. I'm bought in. What do you got to say?
Again, I love it, and that's a great perspective to have. You heard from some coaches I certainly respect and have accomplished some things in this league. Dwayne Casey being a coach of the year, Monty Williams, highly sought after when he finally landed the job over at Phoenix. So certainly I respect their opinion, and I'll see you in the second round.
Wow. I'm gonna leave it at this. Dwayne Casey said funny. He's like, Ty knows what he's doing. Ty is the reason I'm not coaching in Toronto anymore because we couldn't beat his team in the Cleveland Cavaliers. Ty was the reason I'm not in Toronto anymore. That was kind of a funny moment when he was out flat and honest with it. Clevon, so again, we agree now. I'm glad we agree that the Western Conference has already been settled. There's no even reason to look over there during the playoffs. The play-in tournament might be pretty good, but outside the play-in tournament, the Western Conference is already determined, and we yet to see who's going to come out the East. I have the Nets coming out the East, but they got to get healthy, man. They got to get healthy because these 76ers and Joel Embiid.
I'm sorry. Was there a caveat to that? Was there like a precursor to your prediction? What'd you say?
No, I have the Nets, but they have to get healthy.
But okay, so there is one.
No, not really. I have the Nets, but I recognize they need to get healthy. We can't win without James Harden and Kevin Durant. Kyrie can go have his PTO days, all the PTO days he wants. We can't win without Kevin Durant and James Harden. That's the only caveat. So let's get into Clevon. Let's get into our top 10 players today of the NBA.
April 22nd.
Clevon, we agree on number one.
I like that.
We agree on number two.
Okay.
That's the only. We have a couple players that's mixed around. We agree on number 8. I was surprised when I actually made my list that Giannis was so far down at number 8. But you also have Giannis at number 8. Surprisingly, it's bananas who you have ahead of Giannis, but it's I got some pretty good players ahead of Giannis. We agree Joel Embiid, hands down, number 1 player. Should be winning the MVP this season if James Harden doesn't come back like tomorrow, which he's probably not. So it'll be Joel Embiid to lose, I should say. Nikola Jokic. I don't know, but you want to talk about him? I don't know what to say about him, man. The kid is
are there enough superlatives to go around for what Joker's been doing out there? I mean, there's just not. He's the second best big man in the league, and probably the second best player in the league right now.
I really hate, just from competitive spirit, that Murray went down, because that would have been a great series between them.
Oh no, I mean, you should be extremely relieved. You should be extremely relieved. It knocks out a huge obstacle in that the ridiculous path that you just laid down with Tyronn Lue leading those guys and Uncle Ray, trying to get to the mountaintop. You should be extremely relieved.
Again,
we're not going to get past the Denver Nuggets.
For competitive spirits, man, that would have been a hell of a series. So
just would have been heartbreaking for you. Fortunately, you don't have to go through that now.
At number 3, I have Kevin Durant. Now he took a little knee to they cheap shot him, gave him a knee to the thigh. We already know he don't have no thigh muscle there. They need him to the thigh and it turned into a bruise. Well, he should be back this weekend though. I have Kevin Durant. You got Luka Doncic over Kevin Durant? How could you? How dare you? How dare you?
Kevin Durant is a top 3 talent when he plays. He's missed 25 games this year.
Again, they cheap shot him. I don't know if you saw the cheap shot the other night.
I believe Luka Doncic is number 2 scorer in the league right now.
Doncic is nice. It's hard. It's
Okay.
hard. It's
Cool.
hard. He's so
Cool. Cool. Moving right along.
he's hard. He's hard.
Cool.
It's hard.
Moving right
He
along.
made my
Moving
top
right along.
10.
Moving right
He made
along. I
my
think he
top
played
10, but
tonight.
barely.
I think he played tonight. I don't think Cat played. So
Yeah, he played. Yeah, you guys saw him all right. He played all right. I have Kevin Durant at number 3. You got Doncic. I have James Harden next. Again, if he didn't miss these last 2 weeks with this hamstring issue,
if
he'd be MVP. That's how he played this season.
if
He missed the last 2 weeks with the hamstring, and when he comes back, he'll be. We'll expect no different from him. So I have Harden at number 4. You have Steph Curry. Is this recency bias?
yeah.
Just because he's been balling recently, that's why you got him up there?
Well, I mean, he's come back to form. He's come back to Steph Curry form. He's come back to unanimous MVP form.
Why isn't Russell Wilson or Russell Westbrook on your list then?
Because he's not in MVP form. Russell Wilson, now you got me saying Russell Westbrook is just putting up stats. That's all he's doing.
I mean, that's how he won the MVP. He not only, I think he has 35 triple doubles.
No, man, it's not the same thing, man. Moving right along.
Hey, I'm trying to understand.
We're not going to compare Steph Curry to Russell Westbrook right now. Moving right
along.
Russell
just beat them yet last night? Didn't Russell Westbrook team just put the halt to Steph Curry's scoring streak? Didn't they just
because
put the halt?
Steph had strained this tendon here from
boy.
draining so many threes from 40 and 50 feet out. He just didn't tell anybody about it.
Oh, okay. But Russell still went and got his 20 rebounds.
Whatever, man.
And
Moving right
assists.
along, man. I'm not going to sit here and banter.
Oh, you're not going to have that conversation.
Russell Westbrook versus Steph Curry. No.
If you're going recency bias, I'm just asking why he's not on your list. Okay. Number 5, I have LeBron James.
Okay.
Even though he's not playing.
Okay.
I would expect when he hits the court, he's going to be nothing less than the defending champ we saw last season. You got James Harden. Yeah. I got Harden ahead of LeBron, but okay. Now here now is going to get it gets really baffling. Like, I mean, you're going to have to explain to the people. I don't think the fans is going to let you. Clevon, let the people know where they can find you, because I don't think they're going to let you get away with this.
At Clevy Wonder on Twitter and Clevon Steele on Instagram.
Voice of Fans on Instagram. You can find me, your man Cam, or What's Good in Sport. That's What's Good, the letter N, Sport, singular, on Twitter. Don't let Clevon get away with this list, guys, gals, fans. At number 6, he has Devin Booker. Ahead of Antetokounmpo. Ahead of Damian Lillard. He has Devin Booker. Come on, man. Explain that.
He's made the leap. He's made the jump. The Phoenix Suns are the number 2 team in the most competitive conference in all of sports. I think that speaks for itself.
That's because he's welcomed CP on the team, and CP
has been a great addition. He's been a great mentor, a leader, and his contributions are appreciated. But it's been Devin Booker to take the next step.
He's taking the next step. He's not in the top 10. He's not in my top 10. I have Kawhi Leonard there at number 6. Kawhi Leonard, just a tremendous basketball player. He's not a leader as we quote unquote already. Tremendous basketball player. After that, I have Steph Curry behind Kawhi Leonard, and you have Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell. Thank you. You have Donovan Mitchell ahead of Damian Lillard, ahead of Julius Randle, who you're saying is playing out of this world. Ahead of Giannis Antetokounmpo, the 2-time MVP, you have Devin Mitchell. Are you kidding me?
Yes, Donovan Mitchell is the best player on the best team in the league, record-wise.
So why is it? If that's your logic, why is he way down here at number 7?
Because those
If
other
he's
players that I aforementioned are better players. But that doesn't mean that Donovan Mitchell isn't a very good player. I think he's one of
come
the
on,
top
man,
10 players in the league in the season
come
at
on,
this
cut
point.
it out, man. Top 10, Clevon?
Top 10.
No, man. No, man. We agree, as I mentioned before, we agree Giannis Antetokounmpo. And as I put my list together, I was surprised I'm putting the two-time defending NBA champion and so far down the list.
Two-time defending NBA
Or excuse me,
MVP. He has not
MVP,
won a
excuse me.
championship yet.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Yeah, that's big. That's big. That's a big one right there. Next, number 9, I have Damian Lillard. I have Damian Lillard. You have him at 10. I have him at 9. So we agree he's in the top 10. That's fair. And then rounding out my top 10 list, I have Luka Doncic. And you have Julius Randle ahead of Damian Lillard? Come on, man. That's off of this one season. I've had him in a good season.
If we're talking about on April the 22nd, yeah. I don't
That's
think
what
he's
we're
a better
talking about.
player than Damian Lillard. I just think that what he's been able to accomplish, yeah, he's a top 10 player right now. He's
Wow,
out there
that's
beasted, man. He's out there putting up 40-point games. Everybody knows he's only going left. The dude cannot go right, and you still can't stop him. I mean, it's kind of like, just, after a while, you just have to kind of,
he's getting it done.
be resigned to the fact that he's
He,
he's getting his, man.
he's getting it done, and he's learned that allow other guys around him to do some stuff too. He's not trying to do everything. When he was with the Lakers, he was trying to do everything on his own, and he didn't want to pass the ball. He didn't want to let anybody else do anything. But he's learned now that, hey, I can do what I can do, and allow these guys to do what they can do as well. So I give him credit for that. So that's our top 10 list. If you have any complaints, I know you do. I know you got some complaints. Clevon, how can I get in contact with you?
At Clevy Wonder on Twitter, Clevon Steele on Instagram. Would love to hear your comments.
Voice of Fans on Instagram. What's Good in Sport on Twitter. Hit me up. Let us know what you think. You heard my list. Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, Kevin Durant, James Harden, LeBron James, not Kyrie, Kawhi Leonard, Steph Curry, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Damian Lillard, Luka Doncic. That's my list. That's my top 10 right now in the NBA. That's who I got as his best. Cleveland has his list is confusing, folks, but he has Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Steph Curry, James Harden, Devin Booker, number 6, Donovan Mitchell, number 7, then Giannis Antetokounmpo at number 8, Julius Randle at number 9, and Damian Lillard. I know, fans, it blows your way too, as it blows me. I'm reading this stuff. All right, fans, let's take a little break here, Cleveland. When we come back, man, we're going to talk about this week in history. We're also going to give the fans second part of our draft preview, non-quarterback positions. We're going to talk about that. Then I got a question for you about, did you hear about the soccer move they try to make over there in Europe? They try to make the Super League, like pull everybody out. They want to pull USC, Florida, South Carolina, University of Miami, Michigan. They want to make a one big league. I'm just comparing that to NCAA, but they want to make one big Super League in soccer until the fans revolted. Did you hear about that?
I saw a little bit of it. I don't follow soccer that wholeheartedly, so I didn't pay a lot of attention to it, but I did get the general premise of it, and yeah, they weren't having it.
Fans said, no. We don't care how many millions you owners are getting. We're not buying that. So, but we're going to talk about we're gonna talk about our top 10 picks. And then I got a question that what soccer does. See if this will work in the NFL. We're going to in NFL or NBA. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, we want to do this week in history when we come back. All right, Clevon. This week in history, man. A lot of stuff happening in here. April 20th, 420, 1853. I don't think they were celebrating 420 back in 1853, and not at least not the way we know it today.
Not in the same fashion, no.
Harriet Tubman started the Underground Railroad, 1853. Have you seen the movie Harriet? You see how Harriet was a soldier, how she went off on her own, bro. and then came back. She left her family, left her husband, went and paved the way, man. It was impressive. I don't know if you caught that movie. It's a good movie to watch. It's well worth watching, man. A little slow in the beginning, but well worth watching. Just a few, 80 years earlier than that, though, 422, 1739, major slave revolt occurs in South Carolina, led by slaves named Cato, resulting in the deaths of 30 whites who attempted to stop the slaves trek to Florida, from South Carolina to Florida, and then eventually dozens of slaves that escaped were killed. But major slave revolts took place in South Carolina in 1739. April 22, 1970, a student protest at Yale University in support of Black Panthers. I was surprised when I saw that one. They were protesting at Yale for the Black Panthers. When there wasn't a lot of Panthers or Black folks for that instance at Yale in 1970. So kudos to them. 422, same day, just 18 years later, I should say. Charles Oakley of the Chicago Bulls pulled out 35 rebounds against the Cavaliers, although they lost the game. 35 rebounds he snatched down. Unheard of. Unheard of. Remember Rodman talking about he wanted to get 40 rebounds? Well, Charles Oakley pulled down 35 in one game. Incredible. Something you may remember. April 22nd, 1994, Michael Moore became the first left-handed heavyweight champion of the world. Recall that?
I do recall. I don't recall who he beat. I do recall him having this title for a very short period of time and getting knocked out by George Foreman.
And got beat her, punched him
I
in
do
the mouth.
remember him winning it, though. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So Clevon, I want to ask you. We mentioned what happened in the Super League that was shorter than the AAFF FL league, that summer football league that they try to do. I mean, this didn't even get off the ground, man. They announced it on Sunday. By Wednesday, the fans had revolted and said we're not buying it, and had teams, some of the biggest teams in the world, English Premier teams. Germany pulled all of it. I'm not familiar with all the names of, but I know it was some of the biggest teams in the world. In soccer, they have the thing called relegation over there. So they have the Premier League, but then they have like an A League, B League, C League, and D League. So if you win the championship in the D League, you can move up to the C League. And then when you win the championship in the C League, you move up to the B League. You move up to the A League once you win in the B League. And then once you win in the A League, now you have to win championships in all these leagues to move up. Then you can get into the Premier League. So it's like taking Seattle U, for example. They play in hoop, and they have to win all these championships to come from Division II to Division I, and then they have to win that national championship in college to move up to the pros. They're all, although it's all professional, but then to get into the NBA, as an example, they have to win all these championships to get to the NBA, and then when they get to the NBA, they're going to get smacked around by the Lakers, right? As last year. Then, if they're the last team in the league, so say, who was the last team, the worst team in the NBA last season?
The Minnesota Timberwolves.
Minnesota Timberwolves get regulated. They move. If they have the worst record in the league, they go down to the NCAA, just as an example. And then because that Seattle U has already moved up, now that everything's even because the Minnesota Timberwolves lose, they move down. That's relegation. They got relegated out of the league. Would that work in the NFL or in the NBA? The owners would never go for it. The owners would never go for it. Would you, as a rooting for I mean, who your Lakers? It would never happen for the Lakers. They got too much prestige, too much history. The Lakers, not because they're that good now. Settle down. In Kobe's years in 2007 to 2007, or those after Kobe retired, those 2013, 14, 15, 16 Lakers might have got relegated because they were that bad. But I just gave you 5 years out of the 40 years they've been in LA. That again, that's a shorter drought than most teams have. Why would you like to see that? If it wouldn't work, would you like to see that? I think it'll make things more interesting. I think you won't have any tanking. That eliminates tanking right off the bat because you don't want to have the worst record and get kicked out of the league.
No, I'm not. I'm not a fan of that structure whatsoever, Cam. I mean, it's cool they do that over there in Europe. That's great, but no, I want no parts of that.
Why? Because you're worried about your team losing?
No, I just I just don't like the structure of it. I prefer the way the competition is at present. I mean, free agency and the draft, you should be able to, at some point,
but you have
put your team
Minnesota
in a
who's
position to compete.
you have Minnesota who's stunk since they had Kevin Durant and Stephon Marbury, and they lucked up and got those guys. So if they were forced, so kind of how they had, didn't they have to in the NBA? Was that the NBA where the owners they had not only did they have a cap, but they had a ceiling or a floor where they had to spend X amount of millions of dollars on their team, um, to be not even be competitive. They just had to spend X amount of dollars. Like you have to spend this money because you're getting all this money. You can't just be bankrolling all this money you're getting from the TV rights, right? You have to spend that money on some players, invest in your team. So when if they don't do that, if they spend the bare minimum, whatever that number is, you have to spend $40 million on your team, whatever that number is. I don't know. But if you only spend $42 million and your team still sucks, you get relegated, get sent down. We need somebody in here who wants to win. Again, that eliminates tanking right off the bat. It's day one that tanking is over. Everybody's playing to win. You don't think that's a good philosophy?
I don't really think there's as much tanking that goes on
Are you kidding me?
as you're trying to make it seem.
What do you think the Houston Rockets are doing? What do you think OKC Thunder are doing right now? You think they're playing to win?
They don't have enough talent to win. That doesn't necessarily mean they're tanking. This is
Do
not
you
like
think
back in the day
do you
when
think OKC is
Tim
playing to
Duncan
win?
is waiting there with the number one pick, or
Do you think do you
Allen
think
Iverson,
OKC
or
do you
you
think
know
OKC when they trade away what's the guy not Al Horford. Who did Miami pick up? The small forward, Gilbert Ariza, Trevor Ariza. They trade Trevor Ariza for some draft picks in 2027. Do you think they're trying to win? Well, I think they did have Al Horford. They
no, they're
traded Al
they're
Horford.
trying. They realized that they weren't going to be competitive enough to win this year, so they were trying to cut salary because they play in Oklahoma City, and
Exactly,
it's not a city
exactly.
that has enough other streams of revenue to sustain a lot of payroll like that.
In
They'll
other
pay
words,
it for a little
tanking.
while if they
In
think
other
that they're
words,
going to be
tanking.
competitive, but
In
if
other
they
words,
don't,
tanking.
then they just shut it.
In other words,
Just,
tanking. If they were worried about
no, it's not. It's
relegation,
not tanking.
if
They're
they
just
if
they're just
look
shred. They're just cutting
look
payroll.
if they were worried about being relegated, they would have kept their good players, and they're trying to fight like hell to stay in the league.
Depends on the finances, Cam. It's not the same thing. And the English soccer league rules. No, don't need them.
Yeah, I think for that reason it would be good. It'd be interesting to see how it works. So Cleveland, we got as I mentioned, we got the draft. We talked about the top quarterbacks earlier last year. Let's jump into the top five non-quarterbacks positions. Let me know. I don't know if you have your list open, but let me know what you think of this list and if I miss anybody. Kyle Pitts, the best tight end prospect in years, and where the whole everybody fawns over the SEC. He dominated the SEC the last 2 seasons in Florida, made them competitive, made them worth watching last year, and dominated them the year before. So, what do you think about Kyle Pitts? Should the Falcons take Kyle Pitts or a quarterback? What would you do?
I love the guy. I think that he's going to be a star in the league. I think number 4 is a little high to pick a tight end. If I thought he was that good, I would probably trade back, knowing that whatever team was going to get that pick was probably going to use it on a quarterback or a receiver. So I would feel confident in getting him maybe 3 or 4 spaces down the draft. I would feel uncomfortable taking a tight end with number 4.
I like everything I hear about him. I like what I see from him, but I'd certainly, for my Miami Dolphins sitting at number 6, I do hope Atlanta Falcons take him so they can go ahead and get Jamar Chase, the second guy on my list, at number 6. I'd rather have a receiver than the tight end. Not saying he's not going to be a good player. I think they already have a tight end. I don't know the tight end that we have in Gesicki is as good as Pitts, but he's certainly a pass catcher. But I'd rather have a receiver than a tight end. And Jamar Chase, who I have, who clearly would have been the best receiver if he played last season, decided to sit out. That is my only question about him. You sit out I need the guy itching to play, like itching to play. You can't sit out a season. You can't sit out a season. That's the only legit question I have about him. Like I need him to tell me like why he sat out. How did you get better by sitting out the season? That's kind of what the answer I want to know. And then you got to show me on the field that you are as good as you were before you sat out. Like that's the only concern I would have about that. And if he's really that good and he's really that guy, that should be a known. That should be a short meeting, right? Would you agree?
Oh yeah, and he had very good reasons to sit out. So it wouldn't take a whole lot of convincing for me.
Well, that would be my only question. Not that there's many other questions. That would be my singular one question for you: is how bad did it hurt for you to sit out this last season, and how good did you get? Like that's what I need to know. How did you get better by sitting out? Like what improved? And he has to show me that he's at that level. I would want to see that. Penei Sewell out of Oregon, the top offensive line prospect since Quentin Nelson went to the Colts, and as soon as he was inserted into that Colts offensive line, they became the best line in the league. So as soon as he's inserted, I would assume that the Bengals pick him at number 4, I believe. No, 3 or 4? 3, I think. I think 3. I would assume that the Bengals pick him. No, the Bengals have number 3. The Bengals had number 5, excuse me. I would assume that the Bengals pick him at number 5 because they have JB Smooth, JB Cool, Burrow there, and they need to protect him. And he's a beat up quarterback. You can't let your quarterback get beat up for too long. Patrick, sir, what's your thoughts on Penei Sewell?
Safest pick in the draft.
Yeah, I think the Bengals need safe. Patrick Surtain, 2 out of Alabama. I know how you feel about Alabama players, much less Alabama cornerbacks. A lot of cornerbacks that came out of Alabama because Saban was a defensive-minded coach. Saban has been a defensive when he coached in the NFL, he was a cornerbacks coach, a defensive back coach. So he drafted him. He knows what he's looking for. He knows the type of player that works in the NFL. But not only did he go to Alabama and play, this is a second generation NFL. He come from good stock. Second generation player who's the son of an All Pro in Patrick Surtain Sr. He's gonna go in the top 10. He might be 9 or 10, but he's gonna go in the top 10. What's your thoughts on Patrick Surtain?
Unlike other Alabama players, he does have the pedigree that you're referring to, and probably has learned a lot of techniques and been around a lot of pros for most of his young adult life. So I think he'll be okay. Top 10 might be a little high, but I think he'll be a good pro.
The Cowboys, if they do not make a move, the Cowboys would be silly not to pick him up. They, as bad as they need defense, the Cowboys would be silly not to draft him at number 10. Greg Rousseau, the best edge rusher. If you notice, they call them edge rushers now. The funny story is the Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers now head coach Brandon Staley told us in the press conference last week, hey guys, they're not offensive, they're not linebackers, they're not outside linebackers no more, they're edge rushers. Just make this clear right now, they're edge rushers move from here forward, okay? And the word has been tossed around all around the NFL. They're edge rushers. I got a question about that. I want to know: is that edge rusher still responsible for the swing passes, the running back run out in the belly? Is he still responsible for not letting anything get outside him, or is his job just a singular rush the quarterback? I'm asking coach that here before too long. But Greg Rousseau. He can defend the outside, the flats from the running back routes. He can rush the quarterback. He can play that edge position because he can, and he can stop the run from the edge position. So he's a good run stopper. He gets to the quarterback. He just has some injury issues that kind of will push him back until mid to late first round. But what's your thoughts on Greg Rousseau? Are you familiar with Greg Rousseau? What's your thoughts on his edge position?
Would have liked to seen a little bit more dominance from him in college to kind of warrant as much attention and hype as he's received. I know that he's a physical specimen. Checks all those boxes. Combine freak, but I don't know. I just would have liked to see just a little bit more.
Okay, well, I think whoever's drafting you, who knows? The Seahawks, he might be in line for the Seahawks to actually make a draft and bring him in and have him rush the quarterback for you guys, because you guys clearly need somebody to rush the quarterback. He might fall right there to your lap.
See where you were trying to go with that one. Funny.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, so that's our top 10 fans. That's still our top 10 quarterbacks and in non-quarterback positions. Next week, we'll look at the running backs and wide receivers. Top 5 in each category. What do you think about that, Clevon?
Can't wait to get that one started.
Clevon, there was NFL sent out some addendums to the rule book this week. As of yesterday, we got some new rules that will be implemented. Did you take a look at that list?
I perused that list. I didn't really see anything that really stood out. A little bit with the instant replay having a little bit more of authority to kind of interject their opinion. A little corny rule: you lost it down if you throw it or two laterals behind the line that are incomplete or something like that. Those kind of rules. It's like I don't really know how much that's going to affect competitive balance. Great that you're having it, but I don't know. I thought that they were all very, minor tweaks to the overall rule book. So I don't really know how much effect it's gonna or impact it's gonna have on any games going forward, but we'll see.
Well, a couple rules that stood out to me was they eliminated overtime in preseason, which only makes sense, right? Eliminate that preseason game. I mean, eliminate the extra moments in preseason, and especially they're only having 2 preseason games. So, all right, get rid of that. Any extra periods that you have. You talked about the instant replay official now kind of being able to have more autonomy, and we'll see how that works. Are they actually going to involve themselves? Are they going to second guess their colleagues on the field? We'll see how that works if that actually comes to fruition, because that's exactly what they'll be doing. I just can't understand why they have 125 coaches and team personnel in the stadium for every game. Why they can't take one of those team personnel from each team, put them up in the booth with an extra official that they have, Hell, it can be the stand-in official that they have already, who's on the sideline waiting for injury or something. Put them in one room as they watch the game. If they see a holding, if they see a pass interference, or don't let them make the call. Let the guys on the field make the call, unless they see something outrageously egregious, i.e., that penalty in New Orleans against the Rams a couple of years ago. Like that's the only time I want to hear from those guys. Other than that, when there's a controversial play on the field, let the refs buzz up to them. You got your referee who's non-biased, and you have two team officials. Between the three men, they should be able to make a judgment call instantly. Boom, that was holding, that was pass interference, that was not holding, that was a fumble, it was, it wasn't, like quickly. Instead of going to New Jersey, instead of going the guy buzzing back and calling back on the phone or texting or paging the official down on the field, whatever they're doing, stop that. Have those guys in the booth on site right now and make the call. I don't understand why they don't do that. And then we talked about a little last year to expand the jersey numbers options for certain players. I mean, big deal. That's going to sell more jerseys. That's the most impact that rule is going to have in the game, I would see. But your boy Tom Brady seemed to think differently. You hear him ripping the decision for the NFL to do that.
What did the GOAT have to say about it?
Well, good luck making sure the team blocks the right person now. It's like, dude, come on. You guys call the guys out anyway. Number 17 is a Mike. What difference does it make? Instead of 55, you call number 17. Instead of number 55, you call number 3 is a Mike right there. You guys already call those guys out anyway. So how does that make a difference? Hey, we gotta get a chip on number 15. He's coming around the edge. You call that out anyway. You don't call his name. You call him his number. What difference does it make? Big deal. Get out of here, Tom. Yeah, man. So I think that's the only impact that those calls are going to have on the field. The other ones were, like you say, kind of ambiguous, not even worth mentioning. But Clevon, the time has come. We come down to the end of the show, and we're going to give you 120 seconds. Let me get my stop clock ready. 120 seconds, Clevon. You got to talk about Major League Baseball. My top stopwatch is going. You got 120 seconds to talk about Major League Baseball or the Seattle Mariners. Go.
Cameron Buford, you sometimes your ignorance amazes me. Do you know what place the Seattle Mariners are in right now? Can you tell our fans?
What, they're number 2? They're a game out of first place?
No, they're in first place. They're in first place. Thanks so much for asking. Yes,
with they are. seven games into the season,
and they just split with the World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. They just gave it to the Houston Astros 2 out of 3. They're giving it to the Boston Red Sox right now. They're taking out all comers, Cam. Their pitching staff is extremely deep. They just got their best player back from the injured reserve. Their bullpen has been extraordinary. Their defense has been great. You're looking at a team that quite potentially can make the playoffs. I know that you don't want to jump on, and right now, to be quite honest with you, I've talked to some of the people around here in the 206. They're giving you about 2 weeks. They'll give you 2 weeks to change your mind. If not, then it will be too late, and the door will be closed.
What's the record? What's the record? That's what I want to know. What's the record?
They're in first place, Cam. That's all you need to know.
What's the record? Is it 12-2? Is it 7-6? I mean, what's the record?
I believe they're 12-7 right now.
12-7.
12-7.
All right. So let's right now with what their magic number is. What, 140 games to go? They're in first place.
That's correct. Yes.
And the Mariner fans are pounding their chest at that. Their magic number is 140.
Okay. See, you're always just digging yourself that grave, Cam.
Just next week I want you to tell me what their magic number is next week. It's gonna be like 138 because all right, 2 minutes is up, man. The fans have heard enough of this garbage. Mariners are in first place. Less than 20 games into the season. Okay, man. I guess you got to celebrate progress, right? I guess you got to celebrate the progress. And to talk about progress, man, Clevon. Here's a statement from the late great Jackie Robinson. I'm not concerned with your liking or disliking me. All I ask is that you respect me as a human being. That's Jackie Robinson, late great Jackie Robinson comment from back in the day. So Clevon, man, we gave you historic history lesson. We talked about the top 10 draft picks, potential draft picks for the NFL. Talk about the top 10 NBA players today, Clevon. So I want to thank you for your participation. One more time, let the fans know where they can find you.
Absolutely. At Clevy Wonder on Twitter and Clevon Steele on Instagram.
And you can find me, What's Good in Sport on Twitter, Voice of Fans on Instagram. Thank you guys for tuning in to Voice of the Fans podcast. Clevon, thank you for your participation in this week's show. Next week, we're going to do it bigger and better. Week 136 is upon us. Fans, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, be a part of the show. Let us know what you think of the show. And as always, fans, thank you for making our voice your choice. Have a good one, my guy.
Have a great night, Cam.